Hello everyone, and welcome to this Ostomy Knowledge Nest webinar on lifestyle and empowerment for people with a stoma. In a moment, we'll be hearing from Louise, aka Crohn's Fighting, who'll be chatting with Angelina Truman, Keith Thomas, who you may know from social media as Keith Tom 2014, and stoma nurse Fiona LeBur from Jersey. And they'll be talking about how to overcome any barriers that someone with an ostomy might having an ostomy might present to achieving one's priorities and life goals, as well as how to use the right stoma care products to live in comfort, confidence, and freedom. And they will be focusing on how to challenge stigmas and taboos, insist on respect, and escape from being defined by having a stoma. This chat's been organised by the British Journal of Nursing and Stoma Tips, the magazine for people with a stoma. And it's sponsored by Pelican Healthcare and Respond Healthcare. I'll be here in the chat, and I'll be joined by the presenters and the people in the conversation, and by Claire and Owen, representatives from Pelican and Respond, who'll be there to answer your questions. If you have any questions for Louise, Angelina, Keith, and Fiona, please put them in the Q&A tab that you can see next to the chat. So you can use the chat to sort of send messages to each other and that everyone can see. And if you'd like me to read out any questions at the end for the presenters to answer, that's the Q&A tab. So remember to put in your questions. So thank you very much. Thanks for joining. And I'll hand you over to Louise, Angelina, Keith, and Fiona.
Hi, so good evening, guys. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
All good, all good.
So, you know, with regards to this webinar, obviously we're doing lifestyle and empowerment, and obviously topics that we may have broached that other people might be thinking about and how they're going to broach, obviously, those conversations, those topics with families, friends, and loved ones. So I think the top one is how do you explain to your family about your stoma and about your surgery? How do you broach that conversation? Because it's big enough for us, let alone having to explain that to our loved ones who are probably a little bit more emotionally invested. I mean, how would you feel about that, Angelina?
So from a personal experience, because I had my stoma at a young age, my parents and my family were probably going through it at the same time that I was going through it. So they knew all along. But I think the outer circle of my family, so my aunties and uncles, that was slightly harder. Because I think when you have an ileostomy, especially for the first time, you kind of feel scared to tell people, and you feel all these emotions are just building up, and you feel a sense of like, what are they going to think? How are they going to judge me? But at the end of the day, your loved ones will support you in however you're feeling and whatever you're going through and whatever surgery you're going through. I think the main thing to remember is that loved ones just want you to be okay and want the best for you. So I think if I was to give any advice, and it would just be, just say it. It is what it is. You've got this now, and you can't change it, and it should be seen as something positive, not negative.
Mine's been totally different. I've had a stoma now for 10 years, and I've been so open about it. In fact, people are probably fed up of hearing about it, but I just tell everybody. I don't actually show them the stoma, but anybody wants to see the bag. I have young grandchildren, and I remember the grandchildren, two of the boys coming here to stay, and one of them just said, "Oh, can I see your bag, Bampy?" And that was it. I took my shirt off and didn't hide it, and they were fine with it, and they always have been fine with it. I just find that I have a stoma, and being open about it it's just what I do.
Oh, that's lovely.
You wear it loud and proud, Keith.
without a doubt.
And how would you advise, obviously, patients, Fiona, with you being a stoma nurse and with you having many years' experience, how would you broach that with your patient and with their family if they wouldn't want to explain to their family about the surgery?
I think it very much depends on the patient and their family. Some people want to keep it private and don't want to tell anybody, even family members. And some are like Keith and are loud and proud and want to tell everybody. We try, if we're doing like pre-op counselling and they want to bring family, then that's a good time. We can talk about what it will look like and what the bag will be like. But you don't always get that luxury, do you, if it's an emergency thing? So sometimes it's that trying to play catch up and then trying to get them on board. But it's trying to get people confident, and if they can talk about it, then that's half the battle, really.
I mean, I know. Sorry.
I find that it's like all surgery. You have to get it right in your head, because unless you, I know a lot of people who can't accept stomas, unless you actually get it right in your head and accept it. That's the biggest part of it, is accepting what you've gone through and embracing a new life. You know, these stomas, as we all say time and time again, they've saved our lives. And with it, like a lot of us, I'm a permanent ostomate, ileostomy. These are with us for the rest of our lives.
And I think that's the message that most ostomates are trying to portray. So, for example, I've had a lot of messages, and it's probably the same with you guys, from people who are looking to have the surgery and are so scared to have it because of all the negative stuff that's going on. But I think, you know, the influencers and the people like Keith that we're loud and proud, and the people like Louise that do so much for the community, you know, we're trying to normalize it. We're trying to make it okay so that when these people do go through it, they're not so scared and they don't feel so ashamed to have it, because it, like Keith said, it improves the quality of life for so many people, including myself. So it shouldn't really be anything to shy away from telling people. It should be something, you know, I'm going to have this done. It's going to make me better. And that's that. Because I think your health is more important than other people's opinion at the end of the day.
I know that feeling. My first one was an emergency, so I didn't know what I was waking up with 3 weeks later, off of life support. Why, hello there, what's that? So obviously that was a learning curve for everyone. Obviously didn't have a supportive partner then, so it was very taboo. And when I had my reversal, I was like, yay. But when I had my second placement, I kind of knew what was coming. I knew what was going to happen. So I just had to, well, I don't think I actually explained it to Ben. I think my mum did, because quite early in our dating history, my mum was like, you know, she's got to go for surgery. She might not make it off the table. I was like, thanks, mum. But a lot of people perceive it as a stigma, you know, having a stoma. People automatically think that you can't have sex, that you can't wear what you want to wear, that you can't do anything that you used to do. And that stigma and that perceived perception of us with stomas is something that we're trying to crush, and something that we're just trying to get rid of. Hence why we do things like this webinar or raising awareness. And then, as I said, like the perceived perception that obviously you can't have sex after having stoma surgery. This is the next one. How do you explain to your husband, wife, lover, partner, girlfriend or boyfriend about having a stoma bag? Because that is yet again another stigma and another taboo that we face. Because
I'd say that's something I've not had to go through, because my wife has been with me all the way through it. But it's no different. It's still you. A stoma is not part of anything you do sexually. It's still you. You know, it's you in the room, not the stoma. The stoma doesn't even come into it, unless, you know, you do occasionally have things where the bag might pop off or something, which has happened. You laugh it off and get on with it. It's like anything in life, you know. Don't take it too seriously. We have stomas, but we have amazing lives, you know. I have an amazing life. I drive a bus for a living. I go out walking. I've never been this healthy. obviously I've just recovered from a week of mumps, but I've never been this healthy. Like, even my
Oh.
skin.
I know you're glowing, Keith. You're glowing.
I know.
But I do agree with you. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And I think we're more than just our bags. We really are. We have personalities. We have things we love, things we don't like. You know, we have certain characteristics. We are more than just our stoma bags at the end of the day. But, you know, coming back to the whole telling your partner thing for me, because I had my stoma surgery when I was 13. So having my teenage years and trying to find myself and fit in with my friends, and, you know, then you start to like boys and you're thinking, should I tell them? Should I not? It's just, it was slightly more tricky for me. But in a way, I'm glad I've had those bad memories, because I feel like being so young and starting to date, and whenever I tell someone that I've got a stoma bag, I can instantly see whether they are interested in me or not. Some, don't get me wrong, some people just had no interest and they were like, no, whatever, and that's fine. But for me, it kind of separated the people who were meant to be in my life and the people who weren't. So although it's difficult to kind of just come out and say it to your partner or your lover or wherever, and although it was difficult for me at the time, now I know that it's just separated the people that were meant to be in my life and the people that weren't. And luckily, I've got a partner that's really supportive and that loves me and my bag.
Awesome.
It was new for Ben as well, so it was, you know, for me it wasn't, but for Ben it was a new experience. And for someone who's unknown reason used to think was quite capable of breaking me, and I was like, no, it's just a bag, it's just it's just there, nothing's going to happen. It's like, you know. But do you get asked that question, Fiona?
Yeah, it depends on where they are in the relationship. If you've got people like Keith that are had relationships for years, then that seems to be easier. But it's sometimes the younger ones like Angelina that struggle a bit more, or people with going into new relationships. I get that a lot. What shall I tell them? What shall I show them? What will happen? Do I need to cover it up? So it is kind of having that open discussion with your partner, I think. Do you guys feel the need to cover it up, wear particular underwear, or do you just?
I did in the early days, but when I first had my stoma, I knew nothing. There was no underwear on prescription. There were no belts. There were no bands that were offered. And obviously, I know due to obviously sometimes postcode lottery with regards to prescriptions, even now, it's not something that I can get on prescription. And obviously, if I do get them, I buy them myself. So, for instance, I have support shorts from Comfys, or I get bits and pieces from Respond, just purely for things like when I'm wearing dresses, just because obviously I wear a convex bag, so that's kind of more noticeable under a tight dress without support wear. But in general, with regards to intimacy, it's never really been something that's interested me or bothered me, for the simple fact of it's going to come off anyway. So it's kind of defeating the object of wrestling yourself into it, just to wrestle myself back out of it. But then people do gain a lot of confidence from obviously wearing ostomy underwear or some sort of support belt just to keep the bag more discreet. It's a 50-50. Some people love it, others just don't. That's what I found.
Yeah, I got to be honest. For me, I just make sure that I've either emptied the bag or I actually wear a two-piece. So I'll just quickly pop a clean bag on, and it's a lot easier, really. But as far as that goes, no ostomy wear. I did try a belt, but it just didn't seem natural, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, to be honest, the bag is the last thing on my mind.
For me, I used to turn the light off, like completely pitch black. And then I gained my confidence of it, and, you know, fully on now.
There's a lot of perceived stigmas behind having a stoma. So obviously we've got the likes of smells, leaks, obviously sexual intimacy, which we've already covered, and how, you know, and obviously not being able to wear figure hugging clothing and other bits and pieces. How have all of us overcome those barriers or had to educate with regards to, obviously, having a stoma doesn't automatically mean you're going to smell?
Firstly, in 10 years, my bag has never let off a smell. How, I don't know, but it hasn't. I also don't get leaks. I can genuinely say in 10 years, I could probably count on one hand how many leaks I've had. I put it down to a routine that I have. And that routine is, if I change my complete bag because I wear a two-piece, I will usually change it at night. And I will keep some form of belt on it to hold it to my skin, just for 5-10 minutes while I play on my phone. Take it off, it's stuck perfectly. And I probably get up once or twice in the night and empty it. If I wake up, I go for a wee, I empty my bag. I try and practice emptying my bag throughout the day whenever I go for a wee. And I just find that it's never that full that it causes me problems.
I mean, smells wise, I know obviously I use an ostomy deodorizer when I'm in the office, but that's because it's a co-shared office and the toilet is incredibly tiny and it doesn't quite have the air ventilation that I have at home. And obviously with the office knowing me, they know me all quite well. I obviously don't want someone going in there after me because I just go red with embarrassment if somebody's like, oh my God. So, but that's only at work, but it's also caused by things that I eat. So obviously because I eat a heavy fish diet and I like things like garlic, obviously that adds to the smell. That doesn't mean my bag, whilst it's on me, it's going to smell. It's just when you empty the contents. Leaks for me tends to be, I'm my world's worst enemy. So I know potatoes will cause me a leak. It will cause my output to pancake. And on occasion, I go, to hell with it. I'm going to eat loads of roast potatoes, enough to feed 2 or 3 people, and deal with the consequences at 3 o'clock in the morning. But it's nothing wrong with my routine, and it's nothing that my stoma's doing. It's just pure fact that my body doesn't agree with potato, and that just causes me issues. So, and then belts that you're going on about, the amount of times I've actually myself with one of those and the elasticated spring back. But they are great for just post surgery. So the first 12 weeks of recovery, those little belts will just give you that security that you feel that you need to help to obviously keep the base plate flush and just to give you just an added anchor.
Maybe I'm just lucky.
Do you advise people to use the belts, Fiona, those little beige belts that clip on and pull the base back?
Sometimes, again, it depends on the patient and their body shape. My worry is that people put them so tight, and then you set them at a certain tightness, and they have to make them even tighter, and then then I worry that they're going to get sore or anything. But yeah, sometimes it depends. It's just sometimes it's just another thing, and I always want to try and keep the changing stoma bags and things as simple as possible, kind of a wash and go is what I try and say. And if you've got to then add on a belt and you've got to add on something else and something else, it just makes it more complicated.
Am I correct in thinking, or correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't the belts only for a convex base plate? Because I don't remember a flat having the hooks on to the side of the base plate.
Sorry, I was talking about a different type of belt. It's more of a hernia belt that I wear with a hole that the bag comes through. So it's that type of belt I was talking about, which is not everyone has got one. But that is the type of belt I tend to put on. I did try those little ones, but that was with a different bag. That was.
You know the little beige belts?
Yeah, no, they do. Some of the companies, they do fit on with the flat base plates. And in theory, if you've got a convex, then I think you shouldn't need the belt because the convex is doing the pressure, the extra suction bit. But again, it depends on the patient and their shape and whatever else has got their output.
But just a little curious, does it help with those that maybe are rapidly dropping weight after surgery?
I think it's the other way around. I think it tends to help with the people with the softer tummies, the softer abdomens, kind of gives it a bit more purchase.
I don't know why they give me that belt then.
I think at the end of the day, we're all different. And the most important thing is to an ostomate, we learn as we go along. We learn what
Yes.
works for us. You know,
It's
I know
trial
we
and
have,
error, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
we
very
initially
much
have
trial and
what
error.
we have, but we learn as we go along.
And everyone is different. Like everyone deals with things differently. Everyone reacts to things differently. So it's just finding what's right for you and what's right for your routine. And thankfully, there's so much information nowadays, whether it's from a stoma nurse, whether it's from social media or reading blogs or listening to podcasts. There's so much information that, you know, people can just try different things and, you know, kind of find something that works for them.
So I was asking the question obviously about assumed disabilities. So some with a stoma will say that they are disabled, others with a stoma will say that they're not. But then we also have the added stigma of getting attacked at disabled toilets, either verbally or in some cases physically, which isn't very nice. And obviously the whole every disability is visible or invisible, every invisible illness, it's all very confusing, isn't it? Whatever way you word it. But I know from personal experience, there's been a few times that I've been pulled up for using a disabled toilet. Yeah, I have a radar key, and I really do get fed up of times of having to lift my top up and show my bag. And
Shall I give you my version of that? Once again, 10 years an ostomate. I use a disabled toilet every single day, usually when I'm working as a bus driver. Never ever been challenged for using one. Maybe it's because I smile at them, I don't know. I don't consider myself to be disabled. I have a hidden disability, but it's such a broad term, isn't it? You know, being disabled. I can do everything I did before my surgery and more. Obviously more because I'm so well. You know, my having this stoma, I was able to climb mountains, go for walks, swim. You know, things that I was so ill and I couldn't do before. So I don't really consider myself to be disabled.
I think it's like a personal thing. I think, for example, there's people like you, Keith, that don't consider themselves to be disabled because you were able to do stuff. But for me, disability doesn't mean that I'm not able to do stuff. In fact, it's the opposite. I'm just as able as anyone else, but I do class myself as disabled because I do require that additional. For example, you use the disability toilet. If I wouldn't, trying to find the right way to say this, but I class myself as disabled because I do use disabled toilets and I do use disabled facilities. They're there. So yeah, I again, it's a word that has so much stigma and so much negativity around it. And
I think this is why they brought out accessible, wasn't it? To try and get away from that disabled word. So toilets are accessible to everyone. You know,
and
I use it because of the space.
Exactly. It's a facility that's designed for people with any kind of disability or illness or anything that might require them to need that extra bit of space or that extra bit of privacy. And we do fit into that category. Obviously, if you don't, again, it's a personal thing. If you don't class yourself as disabled, then that's entirely up to you. And if you do, then again, it's entirely up to you.
Yeah, I quite agree.
Yeah.
Because I think obviously for many of us, having stoma surgery has given us a better quality of life, but it hasn't necessarily got rid of other illnesses that we may well have or use. And obviously I use the disabled toilet for the pure fact of the toilet is so high up, and with the bar it's easier for me to get up and down than using a toilet in a general cubicle, which I swear is about a foot lower than the toilets in the disabled loos. And I mean, even at home, when we redid the bathroom, Ben got a higher toilet to put in because I was struggling to get on and off of the toilet that we have. But then again, I've refused to have a wet room put in because to me that's like the end of the world. I'm not that unable at the moment, as long as I have a little bit of help along the way. And I mean, Fiona, do you get ours? Because obviously I know radar keys stoma kits, packs are all provided to us after having surgery to obviously have emergency kits and that kind of thing. Do you get asked whether or not that they should see themselves as disabled? Do you get asked whether or not they are allowed to use obviously those facilities because they're easier?
I usually tell patients that they can use the facilities, use the disabled facilities, and that you use the radar key. And it is that educating the public, isn't it? It's just saying, it's that not all disabilities are visible, however it is. Yeah, because you need the space, it's not so much you need the privacy or whatever other people need, but you need the space to put your stuff out if you need to do a bag change. And that's what you have in a disabled toilet. And the radar key means you can get into places that you might not have the room with the smaller cubicles. So I always tell people to, but then like you said, it's a personal choice whether they want to go out and use them in the public or not, and whether they're brave enough to, like Louise, stand up to people that say, "Oh, why are you using them?"
Yeah, sadly there are so many people that get attacked verbally, physically, and it's just not on. It's just not on.
I don't know why people think they have the right to confront people if you don't know what people have got.
I think
I'm a Constance nurse and a stoma nurse, so I have patients that don't have stomas but have problems with their bowels or their bladders, and they'll need to use a disabled toilet too. So we shouldn't, people shouldn't be judgmental. You don't know what's going to happen to you, do
you? Unfortunately, people have an opinion, and sometimes they will use it, good or bad, which can be sad. But hopefully it'll change one day.
I think encouraging people, especially people who just had a stoma, to use those toilets will benefit them in the future. Because again, you are going to get people that are going to come up to you and say something, but what's the chance of that compared to how scared and how embarrassed you might feel having to do a bag change, tiny cubicle, where there's people around you and stuff. And I've done that before. It's not fun. And it just makes you feel awful. So you are going to get people like that, but I think you've got to weigh up the risks and make a decision based on how you're feeling that day or who you are as a person. Because, for example, I would easily stand up for myself, but I know other people wouldn't have the heart to. So, yeah.
I mean, what would you say to people, obviously, that are about to have the surgery, and obviously they've had the surgery and now they're recovering and they're about to go on their journey after surgery? What would you say to people to expect and how to manage? Because it's different for everyone. I mean, each one of us could say about recovery, it'd be totally different.
Yeah. Like I say, from day one, it's a journey of discovery. When I had my stoma in 2012, I wasn't in hospital very long. As soon as they showed me, I think it was once out to change the bag, and that was it. From then on, I changed it myself. Everybody's different. Everybody's, I get a lot of questions. How long will I be recovering? Well, I was back in work in 6 weeks. Somebody might take a few years, Every single one of us has got different pain thresholds, and every single one of us recovers in a different way. And every one of us deals with it differently. I get asked quite a lot, which is totally different thing, but I get a lot of people contacting me saying, it looks like everything else we've tried has come to an end, and I'm possibly looking at having surgery, I'm thinking about it. What do you think? And I said, well, I don't think. It's your decision. I can't tell you what to do. You have to make the decision ultimately. It's improved my life, but it's your decision. No one can tell you what to do or how to do it. And it's like having a stoma. You learn every single day as you go along. Our ostomy journeys, as we call them.
What would you say to patients, Fiona? Because obviously you see us at our worst and at our best.
So I always say life goes on. It'll make you feel better. You'll be stronger. And there's nothing that you can't do with the stoma that you could have done before. We've had patients that have done skydives and swim marathons and go boxing and go surfing. And There's nothing should stop you. So yeah,
Best advice: it's a marathon, not a sprint.
absolutely. Yeah, and as Angelina said, be kind to yourself. I think people of the human race they want everything done now, don't they? And they want to have surgery and be better. But you're in, like you say, it's a marathon. You're in for the long haul. You need to let your body heal. You need to let your mind heal. So just be kind to yourself and just go with the flow. Really.
Yeah, it's a journey.
I mean, we have to say, from obviously our three's perspective and doing what we do for raising awareness and work and blogging, vlogging, podcasts, making ostomy clothing, having your big 3D selfie image posted on the side of a bus.
First ostomate, as far as I know.
That is all. We have embraced stoma life. We have empowered ourselves to make a living out of having a stoma. We have embraced life, okay, that it has its ups and downs as anything else does, but considering we are a minority, I think the amount of awareness that is being raised now, the amount of voices that you are hearing whenever you open up Instagram or Facebook, following the accounts that we follow, we want to be heard. We're not as we're not as much of a minority as people used to think that we may well be. Okay, media may still paint having a stoma in a negative light, but we only ever see the negatives within a documentary or on a magazine or online, because good stories don't sell, bad stories do, because everybody wants to have a look at the macabre way of life when that's not actually the case. Okay, there are rare circumstances where someone might not have it easy with a stoma, and obviously it was a final option, but for a good percentage of us, we're not a minority of we're having a bad life. We're having a good life. And how do we say to someone that is having the surgery, hey, look at us? No, you don't want to read what's been put in that paper. You want to have a look at these accounts. How do you spread that awareness? How do you raise that up?
I've currently been in a video to encourage new bus drivers to come into bus driving, basically. And on top of that, I was one of 3 people who they took our photographs, and they've now put us on the side of training buses. So I've got a lovely big picture of me riding around Swansea on the side of a bus. We are there on social media. Come and find us. We are so visible on social media. People with stomas, as you say, we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on TikTok, by the way. Anybody listening to this? Yeah, we're on YouTube. There are so many accounts now raising awareness. We can't tell you what to do, but if you have a question, if we can't answer it, we know somebody who can. It's nothing to worry about being on your own. You're not on your own.
The beauty of all these accounts as well is that every person is sharing something different, because everyone's living a different life. So you can follow loads of people, but they all have different insights on having a stoma. They'll have the good days and the bad days, and it'll all be shared. Like, there's people who are pregnant with stomas, and it just baffles me. I'm like, oh my God, how does that work? But it's a learning thing. And, you can just not experience, but you can just see how people are living, whether it's good, whether it's bad, and everything's online for people to see. So yeah, there's quite a vast variety of stories and experiences out there for you to find the one that, relates to you the most.
I mean, if you think about it logically, we might be the minority in the UK with regards to the current stoma figures, but worldwide, we're not.
No,
definitely not. Stomas all over the world.
And, our team's getting bigger and bigger. So, I think the figure was 21,000 people in the UK every year have stoma surgery. I'm not sure if that's gone up or down.
I think it might be slightly higher than that, but I think the last figures I saw was something like currently 164,000 people.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I've seen this in 2017, 2018, I assumed it'd still be around the same, but God, that's a lot. But yeah, I mean, stoma surgeries are so popular nowadays that they're used for a lot of different illnesses and a lot of different conditions. And, you know, they're so successful that so many people have them. And you wouldn't know people had them unless you told people. I know the shock on people's faces when I tell them I've got a stoma. They're like, what? Because I wear really skinny stuff and I wear like really tight clothes, and you wouldn't know it's there.
I've run out of people to shop now.
I haven't.
They all know.
That's due this week. I'm walking into an all women's business thing to do a presentation, obviously, about getting back into work after illness and changing career, and none of them know that I have a stoma, but they will by the time I finish the presentation. But it's raising awareness for the minority and proving that life is livable when life does go on after whatever we've been through for illness, to be better just by it's not a small surgery, but just by having a tiny little bit of our insides outside has just made life just so much more bearable, livable, just so much easier for us. And it should never be, having a stoma should never be considered as a nuisance or a means to an end. There's so much more.
There is life after illness. There definitely is life after illness. Yeah.
Fiona, I mean, do you get asked these questions? Because obviously you probably have quite a wide, diverse patient group with regards to age. And obviously, do you get asked how do I go on with life after having surgery?
Ostomy was 2 months old, and the oldest was 105. So all the way through life's journeys. But yeah, I think so. I've been a stoma nurse now for 8 years maybe. And the social media bit has definitely helped. Because I can send people online and find the right people to watch the videos of or talk to. But I think what Keith said, a really important thing: don't give advice, but you can't sort of say, yeah, have surgery, don't have surgery. I think that's where the problems sometimes come out. And like Angelina said, I think you're always going to get people that want to tell you their worst case stories. It's a bit like when you're giving birth, people always want to tell you the horrific births, not the easy ones. So it is about finding that right channel, really. We have a lovely support group on Ireland because I'm from Jersey. So and I get people and I say, oh, come along to the support group, come for dinner, whatever. And they say, oh, no, people will know I've got a stoma. And they'll come and I'll say, so who's got a stoma here? No, I don't know. Well, how would you know? You wouldn't know. So it is, yeah. It is about kind of supporting each other, definitely.
You know, it's either side of the coin. You either want to show your stoma or you don't. There's no right or wrong way. Some people keep it really personal and private. Others, like me, not so much. Unless it's in a professional setting, and then I'm sat there praying to God that it doesn't go off during a meeting. However, very handy on a packed train.
I'm sure.
Very handy, goes off and people just seem to clear off and move down the train from around me. That has happened. But we have all embraced life. And I mean, Angelina, it's like you with the ostomy clothing and the jeans and the jeggings. It's just, I love those jeggings.
I was just going to say, you've got a pair, haven't you? I'm so glad. I'm glad you like them. I think it's just all about, for me, that's how I cope. Helping other people and making other people feel good makes me feel good. So, yeah. Makes me feel like I've accomplished something.
But it's also like Fiona said, we can never advocate to someone, yes, you need to have that surgery done. You can't do that. That person has to make that decision for themselves, because if anything happens, then it's going to come back on us. And it wouldn't be nice, because you wouldn't like someone to say to you, yeah, have that surgery done, and then something happens and you'll be like, well, you told me to have it done, so I'm blaming you. It's just a whole battle with mental health, isn't it? So, Angelina, we were talking about, I was talking about your jeans and jeggings. So a little bit of context for those that obviously don't know your name and know you as Aurora Clothing. Why did you decide to start making the jeans and the jeggings? Because I know you started with jeans and then you went to jeggings and then you also did swimwear.
Yeah, so basically growing up, because I had my bag since I was 13. So growing up, I really struggled to fit in with my friends, wear normal clothes because they just didn't fit right. And I just really struggled to kind of, you know, almost feel somewhat normal. I know I'm normal, but I think when you're struggling with clothing, when you know you've got a bag, you're constantly looking down, you're constantly scared if people can see it, you're constantly scared if you've got a leak. It's always on your mind. So from a pretty young age, I invested a lot of time and money into trying different brands, trying different clothes, trying to find a style that kind of helped suit my ostomy and not irritate it. But I didn't really manage to find that. And then coming out of school, I done my A levels, and I wanted to be a nurse. I actually wanted to be a gastro nurse and help people with having an ostomy. But I had to have a further surgery, and after that surgery, the doctors just said to me, "You need to rest for a couple of months." So whilst I was resting, I was doing some research trying to find brands that catered for people with my needs, and I found that there wasn't many brands that did actual clothing. In fact, there was none at the time. There was a lot of brands doing underwear, and they were doing such a fantastic job that I didn't want to step on their toes. And I had the idea of creating jeans with an inner layer for such a long time. So in the end, after a few months of doing research, I decided that's what I want to do. And my parents were like, "Go to university, study, get this done." I'm like, "No, I'm going to do this." So then I invested 2 years into it and launched it 3 years ago now. And yeah, I started with swimwear. Basically, all my clothing is eco-friendly. So my swimwear is made from recycled ocean plastic, and my jeans are made from recycled offcuts, because as an ostomate, I'm aware that I use a lot of plastic in my bags. I know it's not my choice, but it's just the way that it is. And I'm aware that it probably goes into landfills. And I think I wanted to make a conscious decision of what I was wearing. So yeah, ultimately I decided to create a clothing line for people with my condition. It's been very successful. Very happy with it, and I hope to just continue to bring more things. But at the minute, I'm just super busy with life, so just taking the back seat.
As somebody that wears a convex bag and has to have a convex base plate, I notice more, especially when I've dropped the weight, just how noticeable that ring is underneath clothing. Having that pouch, that bit of material in the front of the jeans, is such a lifesaver, because I don't have to worry that people are going to keep asking me what that circle is on my clothing. It's really, really good.
Just an added layer of security as well. Like mentally for me, wearing high-waisted underwear, I don't like to wear them. So I thought, why don't I create jeans with kind of like that layer that you would have in an underwear already built in? Just so you literally just put them on, and you don't need anything else. Well, you could, but you don't need anything else on top of it. And for me, it just put my mind at ease when I was going out and trying to enjoy myself. I just didn't want to be thinking about it anymore. And yeah,
because bag sweat is actually a real thing.
Yeah,
I think bag technology's improved, and they're obviously looking at the fabrics they're making bags out of. So I think that's been a good advance. So lots more cotton and things in the bag. So yeah.
So we were talking about bag sweating and obviously sweat against the skin and tucking things in. Bags have definitely come a long way in the last 13 years. If I think about what I wore post-op first time versus what I wear now, it's two completely different stories. And I think the brands of bag, especially the type of bag that I use now that's on the market, is actually more appealing to somebody that's going to be facing the surgery, rather than having something that's big and beige or big and see-through. But yet again, in the UK, we are incredibly lucky because obviously we get the bags on prescription, so we have a little bit more of a it's a bit more of an open season for us, isn't it, as to what we can and can't have and what we can request to try. So obviously I use the ModaV. So like with Angelina's jeans and the ModaV, I can actually fold that bag up and use the Velcro tab and obviously do my jeans up and off I go. And what about you, Keith?
Yes. As I say, when I had my stoma 10 years ago, they were just basic bags, and you just had what you were given. And then all of a sudden, then I realized that you had choice. So I just started sending off to different companies to get samples. And I tried bags and I tried other bags. And I settled on a bag which I wore for 8 years. And I have to be honest, it was fantastic. I was happy with it. And then Pelican Healthcare went and brought out the ModaV, and I honestly wasn't looking for a new bag, but I trialed it and I just thought, wow. And that's my opinion. Wow. And I wear it now and it's absolutely fantastic. So yes, there are lots of choices out there and you will find the bag that's right for you.
I
It
think,
feels like nice, doesn't it?
sorry, go on.
I said, Keith, it feels a lot nicer, doesn't it, the ModaV?
Yeah, I find that because of the fabric it's made out of now, it doesn't rustle under my shirt. I wear a shirt every day for work as a bus driver. And honestly, bags I've worn before, you could hear it rustling under the shirt. But now you don't even know you're wearing it, honestly.
I think brands are becoming more and more conscious of our needs, and they're trying really hard to accommodate and listen to our needs and try to make the perfect bag that would be perfect for a majority of people. And I think that's exactly what Pelican Healthcare done. I mean, I can only imagine all the hard work that's gone into making the ModaV. I know I was involved in the initial stages of it as well, but I couldn't believe that a brand cares so much about us to the point where they would spend so much time and effort just to make these bags for us. And I'm so glad they did, because just like you guys, I absolutely love the ModaV. And yeah, it just gives me a new level of confidence.
I mean,
These are massive, massive companies, but they care about us as ostomates, and that is the difference. They care about us. They don't just make products. They care about our needs and what we need, and stuff has come on incredible.
I mean,
We're very, very lucky.
I remember at the beginning, especially during the trials and everything else, obviously designed for ostomates by ostomates, and for a company to take every bugbear you have about a stoma bag and make a bag that broaches all those bugbears and edits out the bugbears, just makes life so much easier and livable for those of us with a stoma. It's just, it's amazing, really, because if you think about like 13, 14 years ago for a bag, and obviously, Angelique, you've had one from a young age, and obviously, Keith, you've had yours for 10 years, and obviously I've had mine a bit longer. It's just, we know what we had versus what we have now. And like Fiona, you as a stoma nurse must have seen, obviously, like the last, especially since you've been doing with stoma patients for the last 8 years, how much of a difference and how much of an improvement there has been on with stoma bags across the market as a general whole.
It's been amazing because the technology's just fantastic. There's been, you can have different colors now, different fabrics. They've looked at all those bugbears, like you said, about the crinkliness and the different ways you open bags, and that they've some of the base plates now taper out so you don't get like a hard rim. I think so much thought has now gone into from the companies on designing the bag. It's not just a money-making thing that will just collect your output. It's actually something you're going to wear, like a chosen piece of nice clothing, really. But yeah, so it has been amazing. But like I said, one of the biggest things has been trying to get patients to change when they need to change, because you get confident in what you know, even though it's maybe not working to the best that it should be. So it is trying different things, and what works for one person brilliantly, I can say, oh, this is fantastic. It's worked for like 20 patients, and then they'll put it on and say, Fiona, this is the biggest load of rubbish, and it keeps falling off. So it is just trying different things.
It's also
just having that confidence and listening to your stoma nurse, listening to you guys, and seeing what else is out there, really.
So all of us have social media handles where we raise awareness. So obviously mine's Crohn's Fighting. Angelina.
Mine is just Angelina Truman, and my business page is aura.clothing.
And Keith?
Mine is at Keith Tom 2014, and you will find me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm everywhere, and if you can't find that, I'm on the side of a bus.
And Fiona, would you happen to have any social media handles?
I have I'm Fiona Stoma on Twitter. That was given to me by a lovely stoma rep. But yeah.
So massive great big thank you to everybody for taking time out and obviously to take part in this webinar. And I do believe we're now going to the Q&A.
Hello.
Hi,
Welcome
all.
back, everyone.
Ah.
Thanks, everyone, for listening in and for joining, and everyone who's joining live, everyone who's listening on camera. And thanks, everyone, for the chat. We're going to go through a little Q&A. So if anyone in the audience has any questions that you'd like to ask our presenters today, could you pop them into the Q&A tab? And so that's just next to the chat one. You type something in there and pop it in there. I can read it out. So I'll start with a question from Elizabeth, who asks, "No one ever had the fear of getting a peristomal hernia or had a peristomal hernia, say, and if you got one or if you're worried about them, what did you wear to help yourself feel comfortable?"
They're really common. They reckon about 50% of people with a stoma will get a peristomal hernia. And there's lots of support garments out there. I know we talked about in the chat about sometimes it's a bit of a postcode lottery whether you can have them on prescription or not. But have a look online. There's quite a few companies that will do support garments, and they can help quite a bit. And they're good as a prevention as well as a cure. So they'll keep those tummy muscles firm, and also doing those core muscle exercises. I don't know if Louise, Angeline, Keith have done core muscles exercises.
I've always worn hernia support ever since I found it online. I've never developed a hernia. My stomach's got bigger. It's just a man thing when you get older. But I've always worn it as a prevention.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it really does work, because when I was in hospital, all that 2012, all that time ago, all I was ever told before I left hospital was, don't lift anything heavier than kettle. Yeah. Now, I found that a few weeks post-surgery, I had a bit of a cold and sneezing and coughing, and I just started reaching for my stoma and holding it. And I thought, oh, if I don't get something to support this now, this could easily pop. So that's when I started wearing sport wear. And it's a godsend, honestly. It's really worth investing in some, just for everyday life, you know. There's loads out there. They're so comfortable. And yes, most people can get them on prescription as well. So, yeah, go for it.
I think the majority of people that I've spoken to are scared of getting a hernia, because I think obviously after going through so much with your illness and having the surgery itself, you kind of don't want to go through anything else. But unfortunately, having a stoma makes your risk of getting a hernia that little bit higher. So for me, I'm obviously scared to get one. I don't wear any support garments from a day-to-day basis, but I know if I do any sort of exercise, or if I go to the gym or if I go surfing or whatever, then I do tend to wear some support underwear. Usually I just go to Marks and Spencer, get a good quality one, and just, you know, use that for a bit of everything. But yeah, just wear some support underwear. You know, you can get ones that are more stretchy than others. You can get some that are very kind of stiff, and you just have to find one that's comfortable for you, comfortable for your stoma. And yeah, and just take it easy. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
Easy said than done though, because I think after surgery you just wanna go and do things and not worry. But
so obviously I've had 4 hernia repairs in the last 13 years. First hernia, I think it could be considered a peristomal hernia, but it was on the incisional line behind my stoma. Have you had any experience of patients that obviously have had mesh put in?
Yeah, it's kind of got a bit out of fashion mesh. It kind of goes in and out of fashion mesh, doesn't it? Sometimes surgeons love to put it in everywhere, and that gives you the support. And there's been complications with it, so it really depends on the surgery and the surgeon, really.
Yeah,
I came up with an idea. I was just wondering, when they do stoma surgery, is there any way they can put a titanium plate in behind it just to stop anything?
I think that would be a rejection risk if they tried that.
Right.
Probably not very comfortable either.
No, probably not.
But it's a big thing, the peristomal hernias, and it's a big thing that people worry about as well.
Yeah, you see them online, and they look quite nasty, as I say. Yeah. But take it from us, prevention is the key. You know, once you've had, I wear a belt every single day. The only time I don't wear it is when I'm in bed. Apart from that, I wear it because I don't want a hernia. And in 10 years, I prevented myself having a hernia. Say I got a big belly, but that's 60-year-old man. What do you expect?
Yeah, and Rachel also asked a question. Rachel said about what would you say to someone who is struggling with their confidence? Because I suppose confidence is a big thing, and I know obviously I think I say quite a lot is obviously fake it until you make it after the surgery. So what would your advice be with regards to confidence, regaining your confidence?
I don't. Well, I'm a confident person, so I don't get the thing of not being confident, but I know so many people are not confident. But I don't think it's a stoma thing. I think it's just they're not confident in anything. I don't know if I'm answering this the right way. Confidence is very difficult. It's everybody's different, isn't it? You know, you can't really tell people how to be confident about life with a stoma. I think somebody help me out.
It's just, I agree with you. It's just a matter of kind of building yourself back up after the surgery, because I think, you know, confidence is a very subjective thing. And I think it's just a matter of loving yourself again and learning how to live with your stoma and learning, like, you know, trying to be positive about things. And I know it's easier said than done, but I think the word confidence is so broad as well, so it's really hard to like kind of narrow it in. But yeah, it's a really difficult thing to do, but it just starts with you accepting your stoma, accepting the fact you've had the surgery, and trying to move on and loving yourself again. And it's everyone deals with confidence one way or another. I have friends that have never had surgery, have never had any illness, and they still struggle with their confidence. So, you know, everyone goes through it.
I get people asking me all the time, why are you so positive all the time? Because, you know, you may have noticed, but everything I do on social media is positive. If I have a bad day, I don't talk about it. But I was thinking about it today, and it's just everybody has a positive and a negative side. It's up to you which you use. I don't want to talk about any negativity in my life. You know, life is too short. It really is too short. I've lost lots of people along the way, young and old. I'm still here. Every day and every second to me is precious. And I want to enjoy it with a smile on my face, and I want to bring joy to people. And that's how I live my life. You know?
And I must say, Keith, you do that really, really well.
Thank you.
Have you ever struggled with your confidence at all, Keith? Even like after
Never.
surgery at all?
No, the only time that I can honestly say I was a different person was I was diagnosed in 2008 with ulcerative colitis, and I was on medication from 2008 to 2012 for 4 years. They were the darkest days of my life, and illness is a terrible place. You know, when you're ill, you're in a dark place. I didn't want to interact with people. If people came to the house, I'd lock myself away in the bedroom, and I didn't want to see people. I'd lay and watch telly, then I'd get up and go to work the next day if I was able. And then I had my stoma, and from day one, everything changed. I got my life back. I got my positivity back, and I don't want to waste a single second. I really don't.
Aww.
That's me.
I'm so glad you're happy again, Keith.
Oh, yeah.
The world will be so different without you.
Good. Thank you, Angelina.
We've got one more question, obviously, before we wrap up for the evening, and this one I think is quite a good one to ask, just really because obviously no disrespect to anybody with age across the board, but you don't hear from the younger ostomates. So what would you say to the younger ostomates that are worried about being in school with a stoma?
I've obviously been there, done that, got the t-shirt. I'd say my school years were pretty tough. My stoma was fine. My stoma's always behaved really well. I've not really had any big issues with it. But at that point in my life, I was struggling to kind of find myself and accept the fact that I had a stoma. So I told no one, other than my family and like 2 of my friends. I've told no one about my stoma. So obviously my teachers knew, so they were really lenient. But I did really struggle in school to the point where I chose not to eat because I was scared of using the toilet. My school didn't have a disabled toilet. So I really struggled in school. But I think looking back at it now, I think there's so many tips out there nowadays, and there's so many things that you can do, and there's so many people that you can make aware of it that is going to make your life easier at school. And I think it's really important to kind of take advantage of all of that. Like, for example, I was in uni a couple of years ago, and this reminded me of like my school days, and my stoma just let out a big noise, and I was just completely just started crying my eyes out, ran out, went home, went into bed and just cried for the rest of the day. But then I realized, you know, this could happen to anyone. And I done a quick Google search, and, you know, I found tips like eating marshmallows before you go out kind of like stops the output from coming out too liquidy, and so it reduces the risk of having noise and stuff like that. So there's so many like tips and tricks that you can try to kind of make
jelly babies and jelly beans are also really good.
Yeah, they are tasty. There's so many things you can do. I mean, obviously it's a worrying time, but it's part of you now. You just have to kind of just do it and not let it stop you from getting the education and doing what you want to do in life.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe it's slightly harder for teenagers, obviously with the nature of secondary school and with obviously having secrets and not wanting to talk because of the awkward teenage thing, you know, kind of personal experience? I've got a 12, nearly 13-year-old, and there's things that she'll tell me but that she wouldn't say to someone at school, and it's just totally missed the thing. So do you think, what would the tips be for parents? Would it be to go to like the SEN section at school? Would it be to talk to the school receptionist and talk to the teachers to maybe have a plan in place for your teenager or for your child, just to generally help them through that secondary school phase?
I think it's important to kind of listen to what your child wants, because as I'm not a parent, but as my parents had done, they were kind of more concerned about me and like how I would cope at school, to the point where the teachers knew and this person knew and this person knew. And I had a bit of special treatment, which I enjoyed. I got away with murder at my school. But I think, you know, you kind of feel like you feel special because you feel like you've been well looked after and the teachers know. But underlying, you feel like there's something wrong with you, and you just want to get on with it and want to be normal. And don't get me wrong, people are different, and people might want that kind of attention for people to know. But I know for me, it made me feel that little bit different, and I didn't want that. I just wanted to have a normal school life. But I think if the kid wants that, and if the kid wants the teachers to know, then I think it's important that they do. And so then steps could be put into place to kind of make them feel more comfortable. I think teenage years are hard anyway. I've got a 14-year-old sister that rings me crying every day because this girl said that and this girl said that. You know, I think having a stoma on top of that does make you stronger in the long run. But it's a difficult time, and there's not much advice or support out there about young kids. And I think it's really important that maybe, you know, someone or something happens to kind of change that.
There's not at all. And the problem is with Facebook groups and everything else, it's hard enough to police the adult groups, let alone trying to police a group that is for, you know, a specific age group. And obviously most children not meant to have Facebook until the age of 14. So there is a missed gap there. So obviously it's something that can be explored. So we're going to wrap up for this evening. I would like to say a massive thank you to Fiona, Keith and Angelina for joining us on this webinar. I'd also like to say thank you to everybody that has been watching and taking part and asking questions. Should any of you wish to contact us, you can contact Angelina at Aurora Clothing, which she's on Instagram and Facebook. You can contact Keith. Keith is everywhere.
Keith is everywhere.
So it's Keith Thomas 2014, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I think he's on Snapchat. I know he's on LinkedIn.
I was on Snapchat. Yeah, never used it really. I'm on LinkedIn, and I've got a YouTube channel that needs a few more subscribers. So anybody want to join? I'm everywhere, and I'm on the side of a bus. Don't forget that.
If you have any questions, Fiona, Fiona's on Twitter, and she goes under. Is it Fiona Lastoma?
Yep.
I remembered. And obviously, if you want to contact me, I'm under Crohn's Fighting on Instagram and Facebook. On LinkedIn, I go under my maiden name, not under my maiden name, under my married name, Louise Tiffin, because obviously I have to keep that professional for work. So yeah, massive, great big thank you to everybody. Any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us, and there'll be another webinar soon. So,
I hope so. Loved it.
Just jumping in to say, Louise has done a fantastic job of my
thank you,
job.
Louise.
And perhaps it's for the best that my internet played up like that, because it was great. Sorry, everyone, about that. I'm so sorry for talking over you, Louise.
That's okay.
So thanks, everyone. I'll make one last plug, www.stomatips.com. Free magazine for people with a stoma.
There we go.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.